It's a new set, it's a new meta. People are brewing, we start testing. Good evening, Inspilled Glimmers, Nick here. And tonight, we're taking a look at some of the early brews that came out with the set release as new contenders for the meta. Specifically, we're looking at Amethyst Hyper Aggro and Amethyst Sapphire Control as the two decks that we felt were hyping people the most coming to the release of the set. Before jumping into the decks, a reminder to like, share, and subscribe this video if you like what we're doing here, because we have a lot of new content queued up that we can't wait to share with you guys. A few words on how we approached the very early meta in testing the decks you will see tonight. Given how Ruby Amethyst has been a dominant force throughout the first year of the game, we started with the belief that if a deck cannot confidently approach the Ruby Amethyst matchup, they likely won't be relevant in our metagame. So you will see every deck played against a version of Ruby Amethyst that we have been tweaked with set 5 and oriented towards a more aggressive metagame, thanks to Daisy being in the format and very relevant. The link to the Ruby Amethyst list is in the description below. Also of note, this being a new set of decks, they evolve pretty rapidly, and these are very early builds to see if the archetypes have legs, more than to give a refined competitive list. So we do not recommend that people build these lists one-to-one, but rather that they see them as building blocks for their own experiments. As the sets move forward, we will come out with a more refined version of those decks, built to adjust to what the metagame will have become by then. Present on the fringe of the meta for at least two sets, Ember Amethyst is a deck that wants to win fast. Forget about removal, heavy card draw, or the fear of be prepared. If you haven't won by turn 7 anyways, you're doing something wrong. The deck revolves around cheap, aggressive questers that might not defend themselves too well, along with ways to protect them through the use of Bodyguard and the bounce mechanic. But Shimmering Skies might be the moment the deck actually comes to the forefront of the metagame, thanks to a few new additions. The main card putting the deck on the forefront is Daisy, Donald's Date. This one-cost uninkable quests for 2, just like Lilo making a wish and Maleficent biding her time. But what differentiates her, apart from being a critical mass of 2 questing 1-drops, is that she has 4 willpower, so removing her early won't happen anytime soon. However, she has the ability Big Prize, which reads, whenever this character quests, each opponent reveals the top card of their deck. If it's a character card, they may put it into their hand. Otherwise, they put it on the bottom of their library. This might be a downside for some, given how valuable card draw can be in Lorcana. But when your goal is to win turn 4 or 5, you don't really worry about what your opponent is doing or how many cards they have in their hand. This usually allows her to quest for 2-3 turns before being removed, and to help the deck cross the finish line fast enough. Similarly, aggressive decks usually have issues getting cards in their hand past turn 4, because of how many they put on the board, and once again, Shimmering Sky delivers, coming to the rescue with a card that seems to be a disadvantage, until you realize how little aggro cares about their opponents. Amethyst Chromicon is part of the new Ink Chromicon set that released recently, and is a 2-cost inkable that reads, exert it, each player may draw a card. So now, the Amethyst player can have access to 2 cards per turn and really get those wheels going and close the game fast, even at the cost of the opponent drawing even more cards. Add to that a suite of bodyguards with Simba Protective Cub, Donald Duck Musketeer Soldier, who also allows one of your characters to quest for 1 more when he enters play, and Balu von Bruenwald the 13th, who gains 2 lore when he's banished. And you can get very aggressive with the questing very fast and lay it all out. Finally, Merlin Goat and the Bosses on a Roll give you instantaneous lore to really wrap things up when you're at that 18, 19 level of lore and trying to get across the finish line. That's the tech, that's the deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck fares against Ruby Amethyst. So here we have Ember Amethyst against the Nemesis Ruby Sapphire in our set 5 form.
So here, I think we added some cards to Ruby Amethyst to keep up with the new meta. They're not I won't say substantial changes. I think we have a bunch of Elsas.
No, they are pretty substantial because it was based on the TFM deck that's more anti-aggro. So we got the Mulans in there.
Okay.
We don't have Flynn. We don't have Sisu. So no, it's a pretty different Ruby Amethyst in this one.
Okay, so it should be quite interesting here against the marquee aggro deck of the format right now.
Yep.
We've seen a lot of versions of this deck, but all, let's say, hinge on Daisy Duck, Donald's Date, which is our turn 1 play here.
So Mulan against Daisy. Mulan questing, Daisy just threatening the 2 quest, 4 toughness. Pretty hard to deal with, to be honest. Seen a lot of people suggesting Gaston on turn 2 to handle that.
Yeah, I think some red decks will try and do just this. I've seen a bunch of Sapphire Ruby decks that were not playing any characters early on in the game, trying now to contest the Daisy, which can be quite threatening.
Yep, and revealing the big Mulan there with the questing. So we know Ruby Sapphire has that big Mulan, but here Madame Fox coming out, taking out Daisy. That's something Ruby Sapphire will always be able to do on the player, almost always.
You mean Ruby Amethyst?
Ruby Amethyst, yeah.
Well, I think this is probably the scenario where Ruby Amethyst has to expend the least amount of resources to deal with the Daisy. When you have to really spend a brawl for it, this is quite a feels bad.
But even then, like, that Donald Duck coming down, protecting the Pinocchio, giving it +1 of quest, like, it's already a pretty huge advantage. Like 6 lore, the bodyguard in place. It's gonna be tough to manage. I mean, we're removing, obviously, trading the Fox with the Donald here.
Yeah. Well, that bodyguard has to do his job and protect the really aggressive little bodies. I think this is, in my opinion, this is the best way to go about those aggressive decks. Since you need a way to keep your guys on the board. I've seen some people trying to play the bounce package of Mims and Merlins in the deck, which I think gives you a more hinge into mid-range.
Yep.
So I think it's interesting because you don't have a unidimensional aggro plan.
And how do you see, like, in this version, we didn't put any befuddle, we didn't put any poor unfortunate souls. We went with bosses on a roll, but a lot of choice in that, like, either early game removal or late game, well, like, late game for aggro, lore gathering and card advantage.
So, yeah.
Card selection, mostly.
Yeah, so, as I said, I think we went with a more unidimensional build. Here, we see that Mulan wrecking the board. Also, the play was telegraphed by the Daisy, revealing it, but still we had to walk into it and try to press the advantage. Yeah, so what I was saying is I think it's quite important to, when you're in aggro deck, sometimes you have to make the choice of, do I want flexibility or just do I just want raw power? And here, I think that is what we tried to go with.
Yep, deciding not to put the Baloo in bodyguard after all, because of the Mulan, who would just spread damage around.
Yeah, she would take care of everything.
Here with 6, we see the Medusa taking out the Daisy.
Yeah,
it's already getting late game for the aggro deck here. Let's see, like, they have a guaranteed 2 lore. With that value, let's see if they can close it up.
I think at this point it's quite hard. I see the hand is quite low as of now for the aggro player. I think it might be just like bit out of gas.
I mean, that Friends sung by Balu definitely helps.
Yeah.
And there we have the goat coming up. So effective for 15. Lore on board.
Yeah. maybe we can try and leverage that Donald in hand. Because I don't think that Maleficent that we have in hand will do much here.
Probably not. Rabbit drawing a little bit. Let's see if something can be done. That Balu being exerted still gives a good target to Mulan to spread some damage around.
Yeah, well, it's 3 lore that you would be giving.
So here, Titan Ambition on the rabbit and the goat, trying to prepare for the removal of said goat by the damage from Mulan.
Exactly. So right now we kept the Balu on the table.
And then just removing it. But still, like, it's 15-6. The deck has a lot of aggressive lines it can take. One more, like, here it's a Donald, but one more Balu, and it's just increasing that lore really, really fast.
What we have to consider is right now the Ruby Amethyst player is in range of be prepared. So even if we manage to scramble a good enough board to be able to run to the finish line, he could just be prepared at this point.
Yeah.
And just stay in the game this way, because the hand, again, is very low. We have that Donald that we really have to bank on to be able to win, I think, here.
Yeah, and here, Medusa coming down, removing the Lilo, preventing what was basically fatal, like, it was basically game on board if that Donald ended.
Yeah, exactly. So, and here you have huge potential to just run with this board on the Ruby Amethyst part of things.
Because that's not like Ember Amethyst is not going to remove anything on that board.
No. You're playing a game of just playing your characters and just turning them sideways.
Although even in a situation like that, versus previous versions of aggressive builds, the deck still managed to draw a few cards and not completely run out of gas. Like, we're still in lethal range, offering what's basically, as we know, lethal on board because of the Donald. So it's a must answer every turn kind of clock.
Yeah, if you miss a beat, if you let one of those Pinocchios or Maleficent, Lilo, Daisy stay on board for a turn, it's quite hard.
Yeah. Now the Chromicon comes down, which with the Mulan allows it to be even more dangerous turn after turn, but here the Medusa is probably gonna just seal it up.
Yeah, at this point, I think I think the mid-range deck caught up quite nicely. We don't have the friends from the other side won't help you win the game. Maybe it helps you just gather a bit more resources, but at this point, it was over.
Yep. So let's go see how it fares on the play then. And here we have the rematch, basically, but we're gonna see aggro on the play, which is where it's at its most potent.
Yeah, it will really shine here with like being able to have lots of daisies. Like we see here, we have already 2 daisies.
Two daisies and a bodyguard.
Yeah, I think we cannot keep too many uninkables in this hand. So we really like are crossing our fingers that everything else except from the daisies will be inkables here.
Which it is.
It worked quite well this time. Like the Chernobog follower is quite, let's say, underwhelming. It probably will be ink early on for the daisies. We'll be able to. That's the thing. We don't even have to protect the daisies that actively with the Simba right now because they have so much willpower.
Yeah. And here the Mulan coming down once again. And this hand is pretty aggressive from the get-go. Like, this is where we're going to put Ruby Amethyst on the back foot.
Oh yeah. Like, if we land 2 daisies early on, I think that it's very, very hard for them. But we decide to go with the Piglet Pooh Pirate Captain, which is also a very, very aggressive play on turn 2. We'll surely have a bodyguard for next turn in the Balu, and then the board will be quite secured for nice questing.
Yep. And that daisy still won't be gone.
No, they're like the best way to deal with it at this point is probably Brawl, which kind of feels, I don't want to say bad, but I've heard a lot of people saying that, Brawl is not a good card. It's just like a necessary evil for Diablo, now for Daisy and everything.
And I think in the version we're playing now, we didn't even put it. We preferred to go with the Titan Ambition.
Which is fair. You want to kind of chip at characters. So.
It favors the trade with the Diablo and the Cusco being able to just...
Yeah, you draw and they don't and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, you draw the Cusco and then you do the 2 damage and all of that. So that's the decision we made on this one.
Interestingly building considerations, which is very nice. Every time we have a new set, it opens up a lot of options. It gives you a lot of color to paint with,
Yeah.
So I say here this board for
Chromicon and the Mulan just taking out the Belleru.
yeah, you kind of have to at this point.
But then the Piglet and the Daisy are still there.
Yeah, and like there's a backup Balu in hand, so, and also a backup Daisy.
Yeah, and here we see the Titan Ambition and the Cusco just drawing that card, removing the Piglet, trying to stop the bleeding as much as possible.
Yeah. Also, I think it's quite. Oh wow, second Daisy here. Okay, I think this is kind of sealed.
Aggressive Daisy here. That's
yeah.
that tells something.
Yeah, you're not even like, you don't even care. You're just like, I have backup ones. We're good.
Yep.
We're good.
The Balu coming down.
Also, what's very interesting with that Balu is now it might sing "Poor Unfortunate Souls," which set us up for further turns.
Yeah. Because you're not really afraid of a Fox on an empty board. Sure, they could play 1-drop into Fox, but somewhat unlikely.
Yeah.
Oh, and here, Lilo, Daisy, and another Daisy, and then singing Poor Unfortunate Souls, like you said. And here, seeing a Balu, a Donald, another Chromicon, a Cinderella, and a Churnabox follower. We're gonna see those 3 cards, just deciding which one's gonna go on top. If the game even makes it that long.
I don't think it will. I think we're favoring the Chromicon here to be able to just like see those other cards we just put on top as early as possible. But yeah, at this point, I think we can just like drop all of the characters.
Yep.
And threaten almost lethal from there.
It's pretty much lethal. Yeah, that's because there we're at 12. We're putting 6 more power with the Balu. That's 8.
That's 9 actually with the already.
Well, that's 10 with the Daisy. Yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, I don't know what the other deck can do. It's way too early for be prepared. There's no grab your sword, and even grab your sword is not great against Balu and the Daisies. So
Curling up under the table and crying, I guess, is the best option at that point.
well, I think this is just a prime example of what the deck will be doing, like dream crushing people in tournaments.
Yeah.
It just looked like the like I said, the marquee aggro decks of every game where you just win in a few turns and it's just like, thank you, goodbye, I'm gonna go have lunch.
Yep. And here, surprisingly, didn't activate the Chromicon to finish off that Balu. But bringing it back with the Fox.
Oh, well, you could activate the Chromicon for the Fox, but
I mean, the Balu's already at 2. Like that's
same.
removing the Balu would have allowed to also remove like 1 Daisy, which I mean would have delayed, but so ever so slightly.
Yeah, it was too little too late at this point. It's a perfect example of what the aggro deck wants to be doing and will be doing a whole lot in this metagame. Will it stay as good as it is right now? Who knows? But at least we know that it's there now. We didn't have that in other formats.
No, it's definitely a viable contender here. Welcome back. As we saw in the games here, the Ember Amethyst deck is really explosive and will usually win or lose in a very spectacular fashion, leading to fast and frantic gameplay. On the other side of the fence, Amethyst Sapphire, or Blurple as a lot of people call it, is a deck of micro value that aims to win over the longer run through some ramp, bounce, protection, and big flashy finishers. The deck has been on a lot of people's radars and was actually almost meta viable in set 3, but has gotten a lot of new toys in Shimmering Skies to power it up. Some would even argue too many toys, as people are still scrambling to find what the most effective version of the deck will look like, and this version is no different, as you'll see in the game. Digging into the deck, the new tools start even at the 1-drops with the arrival of Cogsworth, Illuminary Watchman. This 1-cost inkable character has 1 strength, 1 willpower, and the ability Time to Move It, which gives rush to any characters when you play him. This can be useful in the early game, but is mainly a late game tool, allowing it to give rush to one of our big characters to efficiently deal with the opponent's board. In the 2-drop slot, we find 2 new contenders for the title of Sapphire Staple. Chicha, Dedicated Mother, is an uninkable 2-ink character with 2 strength, 1 willpower, support, and 1 on the way, which reads, during your turn, when you put a card in your inkwell, if it's the second card you've put into your inkwell this turn, you may draw a card. What that means for Sapphire is that every time you ramp, you get to refill your hand. Ooh. Speaking of ramping, Tipo, Growing Sun, is the other 2-cost of the deck. He's an inkable character with 1 strength and 2 willpower. And Measure Me Again! When you play this character, you may put a card from your hand into your inkwell, face down and exerted. Given how much Amethyst and Sapphire can draw cards, no one should really be bothered by being able to have a Fishbone Quill effect on turn 2. Quite the opposite. Then, we get to our shift targets. Since we were on the 1-drop Cogsworth, we were able to run Cogsworth Grandfather Clock to protect against steal as early as turn 3. Similarly, the new Elsa the 5th Spirit, a 5-cost inkable 2/5 with rush and evasive that exerts an opposing character when she's played, later becomes a shift target for Elsa, Spirit of Winter, who's taking a little break from being the most expensive pull you can get in a pack to actually be a playable card, and keep the tempo going by deep freezing up to 2 of your opponent's characters. With 10 Amethyst Merlins already in the deck, we're able to play 2 copies of Merlin, Intellectual Visionary. This 6-cost uninkable legendary character shifts for 5, and when you shift him, you get to go into your deck, pick the card of your choice that fits the need you have at the moment, and secretly put it into your hand. This effect can be powerful as it allows you to get the answer on the board you're facing, and is definitely something to keep an eye on as more and more cards, and hopefully more Merlins, join the card pool. The last card we want to highlight here is Mufasa, Ruler of Pride Rock. As our top end, this 8-cost uninkable character with 4 strength, 9 willpower, and able to quest for a huge 4, has 2 very relevant abilities. The first one, a Delicate Balance, makes you exert all the cards in your inkwell when he enters play, and return 2 of them to your hand at random. Between Tipo and the Great Stone Dragon, there are a lot of good cards in that inkwell, so having access to 2 of them, even at random, is really good late game. But that is nothing compared to his second ability, Everything the Light Touches. This states that whenever Mufasa quests, you get to ready all the cards in your inkwell again, effectively doubling your ink production in each turn and allowing some big, flashy turns. Add in removal, bounce, and some location. You have a deck that's trying to do a lot of things in a very flashy way. That's the tech, that's the deck. Now let's jump back into the game with Alexandru and see how this mashup of cards fared against Ruby Amethyst. So, Blurple, Blueberry, Amethyst, Sapphire, however you want to call it. The deck that's supposed to be relevant this set with the addition of a few select cards.
suppose is the keyword here. Oh, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and just give a huge spoiler for this match. I didn't like the list we came up with. Maybe there's a better list to be made for the deck, but I felt so bad piloting this because you can recognize my tattoo and everything. You know that I'm the one playing the Blurple deck, but God, it felt so lackluster.
Yeah, and since filming this, there's a few lists from RMB and I forget his name, but
The rest of Team Labyrinth.
the rest of Team Labyrinth that came up with something that seems a little more viable. But even then, like it's a hard matchup for a lot of decks.
I think that this deck is hard to build as it is because you have a lot of tools and it doesn't have a clear, I want to say, plan. Like you have the bounce package, you have some really good control late game considerations. You have Mufasa, you have Elsa Spirit of Winter, which plays nicely with Elsa the Fifth Spirit from the new set. You have really nice things you can do, but you have to decide on what you want to be doing because you cannot do it all at once.
Yeah.
I think this was the main problem of our build here. Like we had some Chichas, we had some Mims, some Merlins, some big
Elsas, yeah.
some big control-y finishers. We had some locations. It was kind of all over the place.
But here, regular start for the purple package. So seeing the snake on turn 2, Ruby Amethyst playing Maleficent turn 3, and here the library coming down on turn 3. So promising some lore, and when character are on it, some card draw when the characters die.
What I think we want to be doing here, the plan is to probably keep on par with the card advantage Ruby Amethyst can garner in such grindy games. You want all your characters to be there to be able to just draw you cards after card if the location survives, which it didn't. The Madame Mim Fox coming down to deal with it, doing a great job at it.
Yeah, spoiler alert, the bounce package is still good.
I think it will always be good until we see something that is just like a lot stronger. It's one of the most powerful engines in the game right now.
Yep.
And it was since its inception, so
Very curious to see if the elephant will do anything. I know we didn't put it in any of the 2 decks we're playing here, but
I've seen people trying it in those kind of lists ever since we filmed that. I've seen a lot of interesting things you can do with the elephant, with some shenanigans of Chromicons. The red one, I mean, like it makes your elephant much more aggressive, I want to say. So it turns it into a huge body with that can dish out more damage with its effect. So
speaking of Chromicons,
like we said in our set review, this one is probably one that excites me the most. This one and the purple one that I've seen. I think those 2 are the ones that we'll be seeing quite a bit in this new meta.
Yep. And here, inking a Cogsworth, because that's not the matchup where you want him, really.
No.
And then Elsa coming down, attacking that Mulan before she can shift and cause the havoc we saw in the aggro matchup.
Yeah.
And then singing Friends here just to reload the hand.
Yeah, we want to try and to probably establish a board where you see that Anna. That is one of the pieces I really didn't like in the deck. It's an inkable. It's really, 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 really slow. We don't have a shift target in the deck for it. I think the saving grace right now is probably the locations that we have to do some board control, which the deck is not good at doing.
Nope. It's gonna be a tough one, but here Friends coming down, so maybe more answers.
We really have to be digging because that's what the deck does. It really spins its wheels. Like we were talking in older videos that blue blue decks are quite grindy. Now with the card draw of purple, you really have the ability to just like, you know, spin your wheels infinitely to try and find what you want to be doing. You also have you also have like a nice tutor effect in Merlin that, spoiler alert, we included in that deck. I don't know if we'll see it this game. Hopefully, because I think we want to showcase the new cards, being Merlin, being Mufasa.
Yep, Merlin and Mufasa both in the deck. I gotta say, from trying different versions since we filmed this at League and others, decking out is a serious issue with this deck. Like, this is something that can definitely happen, especially against those steel decks with a whole new world. So it digs a lot, maybe a little too much at times.
Shame we're not in Amber. You could be playing Alan Adale and play that combo I was talking about in our review video with We Know That Way. But like just looping We Know That Way until you win the game. But no, I think this is more just for fun. Whoa! Oof. This is a big one.
Yeah.
Big boy.
I mean, that version of Ruby Amethyst is relying a lot on damage, so might as well include the Gaston in it.
Yeah, well, you know, with Maui's, Gastons, Chromicons, Foxes, like, it's really good at hitting stuff, you know?
Oh, it hits pretty hard. That's for sure.
Alright, so a goat was added to hand, but, like, we're so far in the game right now.
How are you dealing with, like, that kind of board?
You don't have you don't have access to be prepared as well, so quite hard.
Yeah. Very, very curious to see how this is going to be turned around.
I think it would have to do with something playing friends trying to, because you have to commit stuff to the board, and at this point Ruby Amethyst is very, very good at just dealing with whatever you're gonna be putting onto the board.
So here, inking the snake, taking on the crab, buffing himself, and then Cogsworth giving a rush to the crab, removing that Gaston in a turn.
Quite an ingenious play, I have to say.
Good one. Congratulations.
I'm just throwing myself flowers at this point. No, but like this, I like this Cogsworth quite a lot. It really opens up really nice and unintuitive lines of play, I want to say.
And in this deck, particularly, it's a target for the bigger Cogsworth. So against Steel, just that nice resist +1 to everyone in Ward coming down turn 3 is like, it's a threat.
Also, you have like tools to bounce it back, so you can be just, as I'm just doing here, like you can give it again the rush onto the goat, and
there we're talking earlier about controlling that board, which was not supposed to be easy.
We scrambled something. But you see, like, we worked pretty hard for this one.
Oh yeah,
like.
And the opponent is still ahead.
All the opponent needs is a well-placed, be prepared to just send us back to the Stone Age.
Let's see what develops here. Again,
I want to say that this Anna in hand just looks really, really bad.
Yeah. And no Tipo to just ink her.
Yeah. But there are some in the deck, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they're in the deck. We just didn't find them.
Yeah.
I mean, Stone Dragon definitely helps.
Well, I find this engine to be so... I want to say so effective. Like, okay, it's not Fishbone Quill that will just quill from your hand, and if you can keep your hand up, just have a lot of resources. But your discard pile is also a great resource to go scrounging through.
Yeah, and in Amethyst, we definitely have a lot of one-time use characters.
Oh yeah. Especially those Bounce and those Merlins that will die eventually.
Here, also the Fifth Spirit and the Chromicon, allowing it to just remove that rabbit as soon as it came down. And questing with the Maleficent, so keeping the lead on the Ruby Amethyst side.
pressing the advantage. So here we have a Hades in hand to deal with that Elsa,
Yep.
which is quite pesky. It's evasive. People tend to forget that. Okay, it's rush. Okay, it exerts something. It's also evasive.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice to go into challenging Diablos
And with the event of Chromicon, like, it challenges a fox without being banished. Like, there's a lot of things that card can do and still remain on the board with those 5 willpower.
I think it's one of the interesting additions to Amethyst.
Definitely curious to see. And then allowing the big Elsa to be a target again, like to be playable. We might see more of her. Maybe not in Ruby Amethyst, but as you said, I think it's on the list for Amethyst Sapphire.
I think here we'll see one of the big Annas dropping down onto the board to be able to challenge what's happening here.
Yeah. Just challenge that fox.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we see that we did get the Tipo.
Yeah. So we can get rid of that second Anna, which would be my...
Probably the best thing to do here, yeah. And then just thinking, yeah, not keeping the castle away.
And now the most dangerous thing, like I said a little earlier, is just seeing that dreaded be prepared.
Opponent's on 8 ink, so definitely a possibility here.
An impending doom.
But the ink advantage is definitely present, though. And now with that Stone Dragon and that full discard pile, yeah, there we go.
You just saw, like, grabbing onto the cards. We knew what was coming.
Yeah. You see 7 mana, 7 ink tapped from the Ruby Amethyst player. You know what's coming. Oh, and here we see that gigantic Elsa.
Yeah, I think what we want to do now is, establish the location. Probably next turn, if the Ruby Amethyst player wants to rebuild a board, we're just gonna freeze down something, try and put the Elsa into the library to ensure. Whoa!
Hard cast Gaston.
So yeah, wasn't expecting to see him just rolling around this early.
Kind of forces Elsa's hand here, I guess.
Oh yeah.
The library coming down,
Just gonna put another...
ramping up with the dragon, and then just dropping that Elsa, freezing the Gaston, hoping to deal with it next turn.
Yeah. We would have loved having those two libraries going on, like to just catch up on lore.
The previous one was a castle too, not a library, so
castle,
it would have been even better.
Yeah.
Here, the rabbit drawing a card. Maleficent drawing a card.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Now we're just spinning the wheels to find answers. So we have a spite activation of Chromicon. That Gaston is really, really big, okay?
Yeah.
Oof. That's not what you want to be.
What a top day. A Churnabox follower with about 20 ink on board. That's what you want to see.
Yeah. That's why I don't like 1-drops in this game in general, especially in like really grindy lists. But
I mean, Cogsword is useful for that. Like, if he comes down later, you can give Rush to just about anything. It's always good.
Yeah, it doubles up as something nice. In this in this instance, if we are able to just quest and draw 2 of the followers, it's quite interesting. It's a nice synergy with the new location we have. But that location has to survive the Gaston.
Gaston with a Chromicon can hit for 11. There is not a single thing in this game right now that can survive that.
Also, you see here a Maui that can just like... Him by himself with the Chromicon can take down castles.
Yep.
Because that's what the Maori demigods like doing when they find the artifacts, just punching
Castles.
through.
Yes. Yeah.
through stone walls. So
And here they're castle of their own, so like the tempo definitely is reversed here.
Yeah, it does seem pretty dire. That's my whole assessment of the deck. Like for Blurple, Blueberry or whatever we want to call it, for Sapphire Amethyst, it's really hard to take up the tempo of the game, to win the tempo and to keep it. You lose it so easily.
And here just sacrificing it.
Yeah, we have to at this
Oh,
point.
I mean, yeah. You have so much ink, you don't really care about recasting, so...
Yeah, like we want to press the advantage and have stuff on the board. At this point, we have a fox. Maybe we probably want to challenge something. The board is quite menacing.
Yep. Figuring out it'll probably die to either Maui or Gaston, but it can at least do something. Here the castle, drawing an extra card, gaining 2 lore. That card, so strong.
Very good card. I don't think it will go anywhere soon. This
No, when it's
format.
uncontested, it's just so strong. Here, Snake, bringing down the Maui.
Playing the Maui.
Bringing the Maui to remove the fox.
Oh, so because to keep him alive.
Yep. Snake to bring back the rabbit. And then just because, putting the snake on the castle. Definitely a dire situation once again for the Amethyst Sapphire player.
Ooh.
I mean, that helps.
Okay.
Definitely have enough ink to cast whatever's in the deck.
So what can we do here? Like, I'm already considering what we can tutor up with that Merlin.
The problem is there's not a lot of answers in blue-purple that will take back like a board state like that.
I do remember now what I'm going to search for it. It's quite a spicy play. I don't think it's the right play though. Now I'm just remembering the how the deck was built.
Yep.
Probably the good card to go fetch here is Cusco to take care of that castle and start like dumping ink into its ability and challenging the board on the other side. The thing is, I think we're gonna do the spicy thing and bouncing the Merlin.
And
now
here, for our viewers at home, you don't have to reveal the card you chose. Here, Alexander showed it because he's gonna play it immediately, and like where we wanted you guys to see it. But whatever you fetch up from your deck, you don't have to go and reveal to your opponent.
Yeah. You can set up plays like right now. That was not the goal right here. It was really just because you see this line of play helps with dealing with the castle again, but it didn't quite deal with the board.
Not really, and like
We're just setting up probably to trying to reshift the Merlin on the next turn, but you know.
it's gonna be 1 lower away. Ruby Amethyst is going to 19 here.
Well, if they draw a goat, it's just over, right?
Yep. And here they're going to sing friends from the other side with Maui. Just
Finding a goat, maybe.
yeah, just digging for the goat at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 19, and we see that tap. There we go, 20.
Yep.
And we played multiple matches with this to see if there was any way, shape, or form in which the Amethyst Sapphire deck could find a way to win against that Ruby Sapphire, and we weren't able. So there's definitely another list out there that might do it, but not this one. We don't recommend you crack that list.
No, our list was quite, I would say, weak for as it was built. You saw how much it struggled to keep the board, to keep tempo and momentum. the other games were just way worse. Like this was the least miserable one. You didn't see my face while I was playing, but I was like, what am I doing here and whatnot. Like you were seeing my face while we were playing, and like it was not like a joy to do. Though I would like, as a closing word, just to thank our the people that provided us the cards on time to be able to play these games, because we filmed this not even a week after the release of the set in LGS.
During the weekend, basically, of the set release, and we were able to have all of our legendaries we needed for the decks, all of the rarer cards that were hard to find, thanks to the guys at the Mythic store here in Quebec City, who like were well stocked and allowed us to have them at a very decent price, basically TCG player priced.
We will include the link in the description if you want to give them a look. Like, they have a good inventory in Lorcana. If you're ever in Quebec City or from around the area, come say hi. I work there, so it's my job. I'll be very happy to come say hi to you.
Yeah, not sponsored, but definitely our place to shop in Quebec City.